What's going on, everyone? Happy Saturday. Hopefully everyone is doing well and having a great day so far. It is time now for the Saturday weather update for Saturday, June 29th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily weather update for all things weather in the United States, and we talk about the tropics as well. You can see here we have satellite imagery loop of Tropical Storm Beryl, which is in the Atlantic at this time. So if you're new to my channel, you want a weather forecast without the hype and without those scary thumbnails, well then subscribe to my channel down below. Give this a thumbs up if you like the video. Share these videos with anyone you know. Hit that notification bell and of course leave a comment down below. Alright, Tropical Storm Beryl continues to get stronger in the Atlantic. You can see here it looks a bit more organized this morning. Convection looks a bit better and the outflow has expanded with the storm. Here's the latest numbers from the National Hurricane Center. Beryl expected to become a dangerous major hurricane before reaching the Windward Islands. Hurricane watches have now been issued, so they are now saying this is going to become a major hurricane. Wow, this is a new update that literally just came in. Its minimum pressure is 998 millibars. It's moving westward at 23 miles per hour, so it's moving along pretty quickly. Maximum sustained winds are at 65 miles per hour. Here is the latest forecast track. We can see here it is expected to become a hurricane as early as tonight. And by the time it gets to the Windward Islands, yes, you're seeing an M on the map now. That means it could become a major hurricane category 3. So this is something really serious now. And these hurricane watches are up. And the Windward Islands, you really need to keep your eyes on this because this is something that is really serious. Jamaica, you're in the path of this as well, but at that point it is going to weaken some. Let's take a look at some of the intensity guidance, and you can see here there are a large number of intensity plots here on the guidance. There are a large number of models in this that now takes this to a category 3 or greater. So this is really something we have to keep an eye on because remember, it has been trending stronger on the models over multiple days. It has already become fairly impressive on the satellite imagery loop this morning. All right, let's take a look at the latest tropical plots. We'll take a look at the tracks here, and you can see the tracks continue it going westward, and eventually it will go over to Windward Islands. Jamaica, you are still at risk for this, and then the Yucatan Peninsula. We'll have to keep an eye on that area for you as we head into later on next week. Taking a look now at what's going on with the GFS, and I can show you here that on the GFS, you can see this is the 6Z run. It does continue to strengthen and head westward, and GFS gets it down to 970 millibars as it's going over to Windward Islands. And take a look at this. Directly behind it, we could be talking about Tropical Storm Chris as well. So things are really getting active in the tropics. GFS continue both of those storms westward, and Beryl does continue into the Gulf of Mexico and kind of slows down a little bit and then eventually goes to the Texas coast as a hurricane. Yes, this would be a category 1 hurricane, and that would be pretty far out there. We're talking about 276 hours out in time, so it's something that we really need to pay attention to because given that that would be so far out, we would have a lot of time to talk about this, and of course a lot of times for things to change. Let's take a look at the ensembles of the GEFS, and you can see here by the time we get out further in range, a lot of uncertainty past 150 hours. The majority of these plots do take it to the Yucatan Peninsula, but we don't see as many members saying it will actually go towards Texas at 180 hours out, which is rather interesting because the operational did. Also signals that the operational GFS could show something different on the next run. All right, taking a look at the national picture, we got a lot of things going on here. It's going to be a very active stretch in the United States. First off, we do have flood watches that are up for portions of Ohio, Northeast Ohio, western and portions of central Pennsylvania. Then we do have the heat, which is a problem as well. Excessive heat warnings up for portions of the plains and the mid-south with heat advisories surrounding that. We do have excessive heat watches and warnings in California, excessive heat advisories in southeast Pennsylvania, New Jersey, North Carolina, and again in Florida today. Also in New Mexico, where it is going to be very hot as well. Taking a look at the radar picture, we do have a boundary and a front that is draped back across from Kansas and Missouri through Illinois and Ohio, Indiana, and New York State. And we can see here, there is a warm front ahead of that. And take a look at all the rainfall in upstate and western New York. You're going to get a decent soaking this morning, and that should continue throughout the day. And then we have to watch. Showers and thunderstorms will be a problem across portions of Pennsylvania, not only today, but tomorrow as well. And there could be a few isolated tornadoes. There's going to be quite a bit of spin in the atmosphere, and the instability levels are expected to get really high, even for late June, early July standards. There's going to be some impressive instability across this area. So let's take a look at the Storm Prediction Center. Starting off with yesterday, there were 6 reported tornadoes yesterday, 39 wind reports, 3 being high, hail, 27 reports, 8 being large, and 72 reports total. I expect for today, probably either similar numbers or maybe even slightly higher. We'll have to see what unfolds in Pennsylvania this afternoon. And so far today, there have been no reports received. Taking a look at the Storm Prediction Center forecast, we can see here there is a slight risk of severe weather back across portions of New Mexico, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas, a large marginal risk area surrounding that, and I do think that will be responsible for some severe weather reports, but we will see the majority, or the area with the greatest number of reports across the Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and western New York, and even western Maryland today, where there is a 5% chance tornado risk. Wind is at 15% chance there. It's also 15% chance back across that other slight risk area in western Oklahoma, and hail. There will be some hail risk areas today as well within the marginal risk area. And then day 2, we have to watch what happens along the I-95 corridor from North Carolina all the way up to Maine. And then there is a slight risk across portions of the high plains as well. Tomorrow's threats are 2% tornado along the I-95 corridor. Would not be surprised if that gets upped to 5% in future updates from the Storm Prediction Center. Modeling does support it, and it looks like there could be multiple rounds of storms in some of those areas. Taking a look here at wind, 15%, and hail is at 5% in the northeast, 15% up in the high plains. And then day 3, there is yet another severe weather outbreak potential from portions of the Dakotas back down to Nebraska, marginal risk in South Carolina and Georgia. And if we were to continue this, yes, day 4, Iowa. They don't have anything for days 5 and 6 yet. Don't worry, down the line that could be coming. A very active time for severe weather once again. And like I said, there could be some tornadoes with these outbreaks. All right, let's take a look at a HRRR model on a national level, because I want to show you everything that's going to happen today. And you can see the areas of rain are going to continue in the northeast. Showers and thunderstorms will develop across Pennsylvania. Showers and thunderstorms down in the southeast today. You could get one storm that ends up being severe, or maybe a water spout over the water. I mean, it could happen. We've seen it a couple of times this week where there have been just these random severe cells within the clusters of storms that do get going down there. As I advance this even further into this evening, you can see a line of storms, or a broken up line, tries to get going from Oklahoma and Texas straight on through to Ohio. That will probably lose most of its punch once the sun sets for the day, but then we turn our eyes to this. There is an area of thunderstorms that will move over eastern Pennsylvania into New York and New Jersey. That's with the prefrontal boundary, while at that point the actual frontal boundary will be back across Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and New York. That prefrontal boundary could actually stall over southeast Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York City area. We'll have to keep an eye on that tonight. And you can see here, it tries to potentially get some training segments going. Should that happen, I mean, precipitable water values, let's just click on a point of interest here. We can see precipitable water values will be over 2. What that means is Any thunderstorm that gets going is going to release a ton of rainfall in a very short period of time. So I am actually concerned about a flash flood threat for that area that modeling may not necessarily be catching on to, because you're going to be having a forcing mechanism, which is going to be that prefrontal boundary. You're going to have instability. You're going to have the high dew points, high precipitable water values. There's reason to believe that the train tracks could set up for an area of terrain. And you can see here, let's reverse this again. The HER, it really does try to show this. It shows cells pretty much in showers, cells and showers popping up at any given point of time during the overnight tonight. All right, now we have to focus on tomorrow. You can see one cluster of storms does form midday tomorrow up in New England, in Vermont and New Hampshire. That will continue into Maine and Massachusetts. Another cluster forms. Let's actually go to the Northeast region, because you really do need to see this. You can see here's one round right here. By midday to early afternoon, even southeast Pennsylvania, you can see thunderstorms do get going rather quickly, and some of these could be supercells. But watch what happens. This one cluster moves through, more storms start to form, and another line tries to get going. So there could be multiple rounds of storms tomorrow, and the instability, let's take a look at that. We want to reverse this for tomorrow's instability, and you can see here, really high instability for northeast standards. This is instability levels we start to see out in the plains and out in the Midwest. So this is really impressive. You're looking at Cape values between 2 to 3,000, maybe even 4,000 Cape values within this. That's a lot of energy. Add in the fact that there's going to be a little bit of shear in the atmosphere, and any of these individual discrete cells could rotate and potentially produce a tornado. I would go on to say probably at least from Baltimore up to about Boston, this may be your greatest tornado threat of the season so far. I know there was one up in New England last weekend, but this one just looks a lot healthier because of the instability being there. There'll be sunshine ahead of this actual cold front. And remember, you will have the old prefrontal boundary that will still be over Philadelphia through New York, maybe up through Boston. So that could be a focal point to get some storms going relatively early. Then, of course, you have the round that's going to come through with the actual cold front tomorrow evening. I mean, look at this. The instability. It actually does recover behind that first initial round. And you can see in South Jersey here, yeah, that's values near 4,000. So that is really impressive. All right, let's go back to the national look. Let's go to the RGM model now real quickly. And I want to show you what happens. Let's switch this to the 6Z run. And I want to show you what happens across the rest of the country. Again, look at this evening. RGM's really impressive for southeast Pennsylvania this evening. You can see here, looking at tomorrow, RGM's even impressive for tomorrow as well. But look back across the plains. You start to see already another warm front starts to get going. And yes, by Monday into Tuesday, more rounds of severe weather up in the plains. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Taking a look now at the Weather Prediction Center, slight risk areas in New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, back across the Four Corners region for excessive rainfall, flash flooding possible. And I would even go on to say there would probably be a flash flooding threat possible in southeast Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York City this evening, because those prefrontal boundaries can be sneaky sometimes with training cells setting up. Take a look back across Four Corners region, marginal risk and slight risk for tomorrow, marginal risk along I-95. And day 3, you can see here, we do have a threat in the upper Midwest. Take a look at this. A lot of precipitation all of a sudden expected for northwest Pennsylvania. 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, localized 4+ inches, and you can see here the Midwest, portions of the plains, especially Missouri, Iowa, on up to Minnesota, and portions of Wisconsin. I know some of you need the rain, most of you don't, and you could be getting a lot of it. These thunderstorms that aren't going to be moving fast, that train, expand into areas of heavy rain, it's going to happen quite a few times over the next 7 days, so we have to be concerned with that. Let's take a look at the GFS now and see what goes on as we head into next week, and we can see, once again, showers and thunderstorm threats will continue next week. Look at this as we head into Tuesday evening. Yeah, that's a pretty impressive threat across Wisconsin and Iowa. We'll have to keep an eye on that, and that trough will eventually move southeast. And look, another severe thunderstorm threat first thing Thursday morning across portions of Missouri. We'll have to keep an eye on all these. I think there's going to be multiple slight risk days this week, straight on through 4th of July, straight on into next weekend. Then we'll still have to watch. There's the potential a boundary could stall somewhere off the Delmarva, back across through the southeast, and who knows what happens with that. It could be the focal point for finally some much needed heavier rains in the east. We'll have to see how that unfolds. Again, here's what would be Beryl. Not sold that it's going to go into the Gulf like this and into Texas. A lot of time to track where this is going to go. We'll be looking at this probably every day, at least for the next week. Alrighty, moving on now to the Climate Prediction Center. You can see here, above average temperatures in the east. Yes, they actually went a little more impressive again. Same in the west. Below normal in the northern plains. Taking a look at precipitation, 6 to 10 days, you can see slightly above average across the Four Corners region and all the way up through the northeast, the Great Lakes, well below average in the Pacific Northwest, near normal in the southeast. 8 to 14 day temperature. Looking very warm and hot now across portions of the east. There's going to be some 90-degree days mixed in between. We could even see an actual full-blown heat wave occur. And the west coast, you can see above average. Take a look at this. Up in Alaska, below average temperatures for you. And taking a look at the precipitation for 8 to 14 days, slightly above average in the east. Again, there's the question. Could that front potentially stall, become a boundary with disturbances along it? If it does, there could be some heavy rainfall threats. Four Corners region above average, slightly below average finally at this point for portions of Illinois, Iowa, Missouri. We'll have to see what happens there. That could end up getting delayed once again because, as you see, it's a very active pattern with multiple systems moving through, and below average precipitation in the Pacific Northwest. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Saturday edition of the Weather Update. We may have something else later in the day, depending on how things evolve, depending on what goes on with Beryl or the severe thunderstorms. So keep an eye on my channel. If you enjoyed this update, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more updates like this, without the hype, without any of those scary thumbnails, I know X has been going crazy about the thumbnails lately. People are posting, it's crazy. They're posting these, ooh, major storm, this, that, oh, and all these little symbols of things that look scary. Drives me nuts. Anywho, subscribe down below, hit that notification bell, and of course, share these videos with anyone you know. Leave your comments down below. I'll see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, if you're in the path of today's weather threats, please stay safe and have a great Saturday. Thanks for watching.